The first video that I actually saw of you before I read your book was a TED Talk called "The Case for Cosmic Modesty," and you asked the question, "Are we alone?" So I will ask the question to you, like you asked the audience at your TED Talk, "Are we alone?"
Well, first, thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure to speak with you. I learned one lesson from decades of practicing astronomy, which is a sense of modesty. And the reason I say that is we are born into this world like actors put on a stage. And at first we think the play is all about us. And that goes back to the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle that argued that we are at the center of the world, there are spheres around us, we are really playing a central role in this play. And people believed him for 1,000 years, and then Copernicus and Galileo Galilei realized that in fact the Earth moves around the sun. We are not at the physical center of the universe. And if we actually look at the universe nowadays, we see that it's huge. It's 10 to the power 26, or 1 with 26 zeros after, bigger than the size of our body. So that's the stage that we can see. In fact, the stage may extend even farther than that. So the stage is huge. And moreover, the play has been going on for 13.8 billion years. That's the time since the Big Bang. And it may have started even before the Big Bang. So clearly we came to the scene relatively late. It's not about us. That's the biggest message.
So Earth came onto the scene. Our galaxy came onto the scene pretty late in terms of the other solar systems that have been in existence.
Right. So if you look at the star formation history of the universe, most of the stars formed billions of years before the sun. And if there was something similar to us around them, and by the way, that's a good bet because we know now that about half of the sun-like stars had a planet the size of the Earth, roughly at the same separation. So if there were civilizations like ours that predated us by billions of years, we are relatively latecomers to the scene. In principle, if some of them are around, we could approach them just like we approach other actors in the play to check out what the play is about. We should approach the world with a sense of modesty. We are not important. We're not central. That's the biggest mistake the humans have made, to think that it's all about us. I can sort of understand it because when I look at my daughters when they were young, they were at home and they thought the world centers on them and that they are the smartest. And once they went to the kindergarten, they had a psychological shock. And on the first day of their kindergarten, I'm sure if I would have asked them, they would prefer to stay at home because that would maintain their illusion of being the smartest. And we act pretty much like my daughters, and the same was true about Aristotle. But I think we should mature and realize that it's not about us, and we just need to learn from what's out there.
Yeah, it's funny how so many people, and I would consider myself as part of this conversation until recently, but so many people consider the idea of alien life absurd simply because it seems absurd to think about. But then when you take into account that there are other planets that have the same conditions or similar conditions to Earth that are similar distances away from a star like the sun, it's unimaginable. There are billions of similar planets. I think you mentioned it was like 10 to the power of 20 planets that are similar conditions of Earth. And When I think about that, I think about sports because I grew up playing sports. And for example, LeBron James, someone sees a player like LeBron James and they say, there is never going to be another player like LeBron. He's the only one that's ever going to exist. He's special. But you look at the other situations that can cultivate a player like LeBron. There are other neighborhoods that are similar around the world where he grew up in, where there are kids that practice basketball and you could scrimmage other players in basketball. Maybe they're poor neighborhoods where there are kids that basketball, they may see it as their only way out. There are other people that have genetics like LeBron that can lead to someone else being like him and achieving the success of him. So when you think about something like sports, it doesn't seem absurd that a once in a lifetime thing can happen again. But then the sheer, I guess it's something about the sheer vastness of the universe or the mystery where people kind of turn off to the possibility of alien life. Because we don't do that on Earth. We see something and we're like, oh, that, the right conditions, that could possibly happen again,
Yeah, it's a matter of common sense to say that under similar circumstances you get similar outcomes. And I would not even compare us to LeBron James because I would argue that we are most likely to be just like ants on a sidewalk. There are many of them. None of them looks particularly special, and that's why nobody cares about us. Nobody pays a visit. That's Fermi's paradox. Enrico Fermi, about 70 years ago, argued, if they are out there, why don't we see them? And the point is, that's a bit presumptuous to think that we are special and unique and deserve attention because the conditions here are replicated in so many other places. And, actually, if you watch the news every morning, you realize that we are doing a lot of foolish things. We are wasting resources on fighting each other, feeling superior relative to each other. In my book, Extraterrestrial, I talk about the Second World War. And, Winston Churchill, he got the Nobel Prize in Literature and wrote an essay in 1939 arguing that it would be fascinating to search for technological civilizations out there. And he didn't have a chance to publish his essay because he was recruited to become the prime minister in England and fight the Nazis. And just think about the Second World War, how many resources were wasted in killing people and just fighting racism. If this would not have happened, if all of the same, just imagine another world where the same resources would have been dedicated to Churchill's essay, trying to search for other intelligent civilizations, then we would have known the answer by now. So the point is, we are doing non-intelligent things. We are wasting resources for nothing. There was nothing good that came out of the Second World War, and that shows that we are not particularly intelligent. I define intelligence as promoting the best future. And obviously, we are not doing that. We are not cooperating. Science is really about cooperation. Science is really the future of humanity in the sense that it's an infinite sum game. In economics, people talk about zero-sum game, where if someone wins, the other person loses. But in science, if you gain knowledge, everyone benefits from it. And so cooperation is really the fundamental principle of science, sharing information, sharing knowledge, and creating new knowledge is really the essence of doing science. So I think if we were an intelligent civilization, we would invest all of our resources in science rather than in defense or the military and so forth. And we would work together to figure out how to make the future better. Just think about the pandemic, as an example. It's quite amazing that within a year, a vaccine was developed. And I'm talking about the mRNA in particular, the vaccine that is completely synthetic, not a weakened virus, but something that is based on our understanding of how things work. And within a year, it brings people back to normal. It's quite amazing.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. As a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full, uncut, 2+ hour episodes of the Auxoro podcast, plus gain access to 2 bonus episodes every month at auxoro.supercast.tech. Link is also in the description. Thank you so much for supporting quality content from independent creators like myself. Cheers.